Let's jump right into picks and bans for game number 1 between the Jade Dragons and the Solar Scarabs. The Dragons and the former Dragon Slayers. We'll see if they can live up to that name here today. Again, this is another in-studio match. Yeah, we had one. Now we're back here for a second one. Well, unfortunately, that's going to be the only other one that we get for the weekend. But hey, we still have plenty more games to go throughout the remainder of the phase. A win here, very important for both of these teams. Jade Dragons want to try and hold as close to that second seed in the standings as they can go. Solar Scarabs want to try and get their first win on the board. While this phase itself, phase 3 very important because we're going to Worlds. This first half of phase 3 is mostly just important to try and get that seeding so you can start working your way in towards the group stages. Top 2 teams pick the other team's bracket, and if the Solar Scarabs are going to try and sit here and play spoiler, that might be one that you want to throw in somebody else's division.
So if the Jade Dragons are able to secure themselves a set win here, that would put them at 3-1 in the standings. If the Solar Scarabs win, it'll put them at 1-3. So that is why we are saying that they're looking to play the spoiler here. They don't really have a lot of wins under the belt as of right now, but that surely could change as the phase rolls on. So far, bans looking largely pretty standard, barring that Ares from the Solar Scarabs. Sir Kent, Terra, and Odin banned out by the Jade Dragons, and the Solar Scarabs take out Ardio, Geb, and Ares. This leaves a lot on the table. Tiamat comes to mind. Yamoja's out there as well. Every single priority jungler is also available. Ull also available out there, and that's exactly where the Jade Dragons is going to head to with their very first selection. Uller locked in, and this does secretly have slight flex potential. We know that a couple of the mid laners in the SPL, namely Zeros, has alluded to the fact that maybe we start seeing some of these ability hunters in mid. I think that Hurrywin's certainly one capable of playing that, but for the most part, this god is dual lane bound.
And not just a pick here for the Jade Dragons, but it kind of acts as a pseudo-ban because of how much Stewart has been performing well on this god. So taking it away from him, giving it in somebody's comfortable's hands, such as Panda Cat or Hurrywin, as you may have alluded to. On the other side of the board, with the Emoja open, instead, the Solar Scarabs want to focus on getting themselves a Khepri for inbound in that support role, and both of the premier mages are up, but the Solar Scarabs aren't willing to bite for one just yet. They're maybe waiting to see what the Jade Dragons pick up here and maybe just take the leftovers. It's a Khepri Izanami to round out the dual lane for the Scarabs.
The Jade Dragons might have slight kill potential inside of the dual lane if that is where this Uller is headed, but as far as clear is concerned, the Solar Scarabs have it, and they have it in spades. Khepri and Izanami both going to be dealing with these minion waves very quickly, which could open the door for the Scarabs to look towards purple or red buff invades in the early game, depending on which jungler they select. So we'll see where the Jade Dragons go here. If they don't take a support in this pick phase, I think it is very likely we see a ton more banned out by the Solar Scarabs, but it really is only Sylvanas is that new guard that is still available. Yeah,
Sylvanas is really, as you highlighted, the only one who's still kind of creeping up. Though, with the Terror banned away, that leaves a lot still open on the table. I mean, there was five frontliners actually banned in the first phase. It'll be a Susano locked in by the Jade Dragons, going over for Sam with this Raijin locked in by the Dragons as well. That is going to guarantee that the Uller is going to be going over to the duo lane. So we do have the backliners, I should say, here for the Jade Dragons, if you want to call Susano a backline. I mean, he's going to be in their backline, potentially at least. Now the Solar Scarabs have to answer their own question of what do they want to lock in. They're looking at a Soul who's not really that Tiamat. Tiamat just kind of got overlooked here.
Seems like Soul might be the option just because of how much survivability she has into a god like Susano, right? If you're getting pulled out by Susano at any point of the game, I don't care if you're Tiamat at level 5 or anything like that, you're probably getting shut down pretty quickly. To separate, going to be a great tool to make sure that that doesn't happen to you throughout the early, and as well as giving you another auto attacker means that the Solar Scarabs are going to have great objective potential, be it permanent structures inside of the towers or the Phoenixes, or neutral objectives like the Gold Fury, Fire Giant, and Pyromancer. They're all going to get shredded incredibly quickly, but already with this top 3 selection from the Jade Dragons, doesn't it just scream aggression top to bottom? Ull's going to be leaping in aggressively. Susano gets involved the second he takes over to level 5. And Raijin, once he gets that Thunder Crash available to him, likely going to use that aggressively, and his scaling doesn't hurt.
And Susano Raijin is just screaming a level 2, if not at least a level 3 potential kill in mid lane, or really any lane that the Susano goes towards. Second bans come through for the Solar Scarabs. Umoja somehow made it all the way through all of these. It was a Khepri pick by the Solar Scarab, so hey, they'll get the OG Solar Scarab himself, and a Sylvanas taken away to boot. So a lot of frontline. We see 5 Guardian bans by the Solar Scarabs. Now, namely, one of those is more geared towards the solo lane in that RTO. And with the Terra ban by the Jade Dragons, that removes 6 Guardians off the board, a 7th one when you take the Khepri pick. So the Jade Dragons going to be digging a little bit deeper here in the God pool, especially with the Serket now taken away. That gets rid of one of those assassin supports. Even the Odin has some of that flexibility. So Jade Dragons, they're going to be kind of looking a little bit deeper to maybe grab that pick there for PBM.
Yeah, we could see PBM go to some of his comfort picks. Fenrir comes to mind. Fafnir as well is something he could take his eyes towards as well. So I'm sure Polar Bear Michael not feeling too bad about where he is currently standing. But I like this hover from the Solar Scarabs. It's something that Scream piloted in 8.8, and I don't think it was so good in 8.8. Thor, though, in 8.9 is incredibly strong. Get that Jotun's online very quickly. His damage output is very nice considering the entirety of the Mace tree is eating a buff here or there, be it additional power or reduced costs in some of these items. So Thor now with global presence can help out, make sure that the soul is able to scale well into the late game and get the opportunity to find some of that farm. And if you are playing aggressively on Thor, well, you at least got a safety net thanks to the Scarab's Blessing.
Yeah, it's going to be really a question of where do the level 5s go for both these junglers. I mean, Scream has the pick of the litter with this Thor. That semi-global ultimate allows him to dunk really any side of the map from a very safe distance. He can jump into either of the pits, whether it be Fire Giant or Gold Fury, and kind of dip his toes into any of those lanes. On the other side of the board, Achilles locked in here for the Jade Dragons, and looking at a Zhang Kui, is this going to be an Achilles support coming out of Polar Bear Mike here?
Yeah, I think so.
Love
it fits his play style, man. He loves that aggressive level of play. He wants to be able to get in your face, apply that damage, apply those stuns. It does operate very similarly to Fenrir support. You're just generally another assassin that happens to be a little bit tankier. I think maybe the more so interesting talking point is that Zhang
versus
Kui.
Solar Scarabs. When we talked to Baronic prior to the matchup, Goran, in the pregame interview, look, this is a team that brought it to 3 games against a couple of the teams ranked in the top half of the league, the Phase 2 champion, Tartarus Titans, the Camelot Kings, who have been looking great recently. Some of those losses, the Scarabs team feel self-inflicted. Games they should have won, sets they should have won, and then simple mistakes that are changeable kind of kept them out of the winning column here so far. Now a team that the Scarabs team has beaten a couple of times in the past. An opportunity to get a win here in Phase 3.
Yeah, I believe last time they matched up, the Dragons were able to get that, but the other times that they've played, this has been, surprisingly, a Scarabs win every single time, and I think that honestly gives me a lot of, at least precedence here. They've been looking better. Like the damage, though, on the Steward. He's going to make it out of there, but just barely.
I mean, I'm surprised, Gore, but it's Achilles and Uller, right? So, you know, if that flurry of damage between an early game Warrior and Panda Cat on Uller connects, well, what just happened to Stewart will probably happen a little bit more often.
And honestly, I actually really like it. So one thing Mike does really well is play Warriors as a Guardian, right? You have any standard frontliners in any roles, but Zhang Kui can get relatively tanky. We know Achilles can, and I anticipate Mike building him as such.
Oh, no.
But they're going to be able to get a lot of early game pressure.
Oh, no. It's a stun onto Baronic. Hurrywind is here as well. Raiju will take on the end of it, and it's first blood over to the Jade Dragons, and that one, simple. Not a lot of hype to cast around that. That's PBM rotating out of lane, hitting the stun, and Hurrywind waiting out to disapparate. First blood over to the Jade Dragons in this Raiju in mid. And likely feeling just fine here in this matchup. So now we've reached that level 5, level 6 mark in the jungle, Gore. Sanford Soccer clearly can make some stuff happen, but this is where you look for Scream to start to control this late early game and early mid game.
I anticipate a few Typhoons from Sam, but Anvil of Dawn is just like the biggest game changer. Anytime you see, like in the mid camps right now where the Thor is, but if he's in the Fire Giant pit, if he's in the Gold Fury pit, anywhere that Thor can travel, it's big.
Stewart's just getting run down here. Execute, yes please. And Polar Bear Mike will take it to go. Stewart down for the first time this game. Anvil of Dawn from Scream finds its way into the mid lane, and it's a breath of fresh air for the Solar Scarabs. The jungler making something happen, and Scream now nabs his first, and a momentary respite for Baronic here in the mid lane. You get an assist, you get a level lead over Hurrywind, and you can farm up safely for another 15
with every engage. Good news is that nobody seems to be getting too aggressive right now on the Scarabs, so you're still getting a little bit of farm. They had to back up and get their buffs. But yeah, SOT might be in trouble.
Oh, and he just used Driving Strike. That's going to be a pullback through from Sanford Soccer. Stun, execute for Mike, never hits its targets because Sanford Soccer already dealt the killing blow. And the seeds were sown over here in the solo lane for the longest time. Fine, okay. dominating this lane is a bit of an aggressive statement, but he's felt in control of this one. Gold Fury started up now by the Solar Scarabs, sensing the rotation, the pressure of the Jade Dragons on right. Panda Cat, will he steal it away? No is the answer. Inbound takes an axe, though. And a little flurry of damage from Panda Cat follows its way in. That's a great call from the Solar Scarabs, mitigating the loss right where they are. So it's been quiet from Scream after that initial engagement in the mid lane, but still early enough in the game where sometimes, or might only just take one. But Sanford Soccer is going to rotate back here to Soul Lane, blink through, pull back onto SOT, and this health bar is melting. My goodness, Final K in range to deal the last bit of damage. And I didn't see a driving strike in there, Gore. That must have been on cooldown, and SOT falls for the second time. And now, this Zhong Kui with Pythag's piece and a little lifesteal after it. We'll see how the rest of the build looks, but decent damage numbers coming out of the solo lane here for the Dragons.
And not only just decent damage, but you could see that without having to drop Sam's ult, without having to have Polar Bear Mike.
Where are you going to go? Down behind Panda Cat, who will leap away. Actually return more damage onto Scream than Scream was even close to being able to deal onto Panda. And that's going to be in here behind as well. There are beads for Panda, who dodges out the root, stun onto inbound, leap away. This guy is annoying to play against on this pick. Panda Cat's feeling himself early in game one.
And that is about as essential Uller as you could get right now. Panda Cat gets a good leap to disengage and make sure Scream can't hit anything, and now Mike gets to get aggressive in mid.
He's going to have enough damage for the execute. No, not timed to perfection. Oh no, Hurrywind. He's not the one tanking up the tower though, so he will walk away. PBM had the damage there. Thunder Crash out, so Scream cannot follow up. You nearly get the kill onto Baronic. You at least get the beads, but now Scream getting towered out. Typhoon deals the killing blow, and Scream be watching from the grave for the next 25 seconds. Nearly a good play for the Dragons. Turns into a great one just a few moments later.
Interested to see how this transitions into a late game team fight. He went for that sledge early. Now he's got the Thebes stacking.
So he got a little damage.
He's going to, have a little bit of damage to help with something like that. I mean, Scream's half health.
Yeah, that's an ult from Scream into the mid lane. Doesn't hit the stun. Execute from Mike. No good on the read. A rare whiff from PBM, who's pushed back beneath the tower. You can't live from this one. Not when the pull is there. And SOT adds a kill. But there are 3 ultimates down here in the mid lane and 1 dead PBM. Stewart had used his Dark Portal onto Panda Cat a moment ago. And so in the same breath that I'm praising Mike, a bit overextended there, and no good on the execute.
And I got to give a lot of praise to the way Inbound and Solar Troll just fused together there in their CC chains. I mean, good luck running away from that later on. They've got some good setup. They've got decent stuns and things like that. But the Scarabs have really good zone control for people who are either trying to get aggressive or just going to get locked down.
Oh, poor Baronic. Yeah, hold on to your beads, friend. There's not a real chance for you here. Dove on in the mid lane, blink, pull, execute from Sanford Soccer. And execute the Jade Dragons have at seemingly every turn here. Killing spree now for the Susano. And what timing? In the Jade Dragons playbook, you rotate over as the Fury spawning, you get a kill. And then you give yourself a good chance to secure the objective.
And now you're sitting with 2,000 experience and gold. You've got Divine Ruin, Brawlers, the things that are going to be problematic. Specifically from, I'm looking at Baronic because he's the one who's going to have the most survivability. But now that Pythag's piece, pretty much the whole team, I'm thinking of Soul. I'm not really thinking of too much. Like, she's decent early on, but I like her late game really well because
she scales well.
She does so much in the late game. Same thing for Stewart here on Iza.
Oh man, SOT. He's been the recipient of a Sanford Soccer rotation or 2 already this game. Receives it a 3rd time. If Inbound's not there, you might see Final K and Sam continuing their pressure, but abilities on cooldown will mean that Solo or Troll has to back off. We wondered.
It's a little bit more of a toss-up, right? As long as Stewart's able to connect it, there's a good chance he's going to be able to find that damage. Of course, it also depends on who's in the jungle. Right now, Inbound is surrounded without actually knowing he's surrounded.
Yep.
A lot that's just hanging out in the jungle. But they're not going for any loop path or cutoff. I think you can see Scream. He's actually going to start a back animation, but the way they're playing is just still aggressive. Jesus Christ. That's he's just dead.
Yeah, he's been just dead a few times this game. Sanford Soccer is melting.
I was trying to drop that for you.
Right, you physically didn't have enough time. You would have required premonition of that occurring. You would have had to know that it was happening 10 seconds before it really did for me to have a chance. And I think our surprise probably does that play more justice. Sam with Crusher, Brawler's Beatstick, and Jotuns firmly in that mace tree evaporates Baronic. 9,000 player damage, 16 minutes in. That'll be top in the game for the Jade Dragons jungler, and he is going to build up just a little bit more here. Will Mike weave the execute in? No, he won't. SOT good on the body block. But Sanford Soccer and the rest of the Dragons continue to wreak havoc here. Pyromancer goes down, and Stuart Gore, I think, doing the best that he can. We're going to take down the tower here on left, get our team some gold. The Scarabs have done a good job of stopping the bleeding as well as you can. You're still leaking a little blood, but it's not as horrific as it could be, given the pace that the Jade Dragons are playing this game. And so there are those transitional periods in this game where maybe you start to see the Solar Scarabs get a little bit more comfortable. Baronic has been sat on. He's still even in levels with Hurrywin. Maybe you start off a fight with a kill onto Polar Bear Mike with all that chain CC. You gotta get a kill if you're gonna spend 3 ultimates onto Mike, though, and Mike will just walk away. Scream up in the air, and down he goes onto Hurrywin, and SOT opens up the killing here, and the Solar Scarabs have won this trade.
And that's a really big pickup. It might not be Mike. They might have dumped a lot of ults, but look, Mike can't really get back in here. He doesn't have the same health bar that he needs to work with, and so he has the execute available, and they're looking like they might want to re-engage.
Oh, it's a big blink in. Push and pull. That's all good, and Baronic, the one who gets the kill. Final K surging forward. Panic-Cat's still alive in the back, and you can't count him out, not when he's on Ullr. And he'll add another 2-for-2 trade across both engagements so far. The Jade Dragons fight into that one, Gord, a numbers deficit, and still were able to find a couple kills.
And then not only get a couple of kills, yes, you do lose Mike, but you kill off Inbound. Didn't have time to get his ult off, so you don't even have the res. So the worst part of the Khepri kit, admittedly still available.
Our first glimpse at Final K in a big team fight environment, and I'm not sure, unless I'm just remembering incorrectly, I'm not sure I saw this Jean-Qui's health bar dip beneath half HP. He was able to walk forward despite in a numbers disadvantage.
Specifically in jungle and carry. Those are the big differences that you're seeing right now in the gold. Admittedly, ward coverage as well. There's 3 sentries in the pockets of the Dragons. So they're going to have a good amount of vision over here. But if you are able to keep this game, at least at this state, granted still slipping away, the Scarabs are not anywhere near as far out of this as it feels.
Fire Giant started by the Dragons, and why not? You played aggressively in every facet of the game. Why not continue to do so around the FG? And it's going down quickly. Can Inbound make some magic happen? No, he can't. The Jade Dragons get the FG, and Inbound gets a death. It's a pullback in from Sanford Soccer. Stewart will dash away. All the mobility getting used to disengage from this fight. And the Scarabs at least able to do that.
I got to give the Dragons credit, because what I thought was going to be the counter for this Khepri was the executes that would come out consistently. What it has been is just CC. Inbound has not had the ability to use his ultimate in these last few fights, because he has just been CC'd before he's able to throw it, not onto himself, onto anybody. And that has created so many more opportunities for the Dragons than admittedly they should have.
Do not get this statement twisted. He has played well all of Season 8 so far.
But this is his meta.
This is Sam's meta. This is what he wants to be doing. He wants to be the Hunbats diving in, starting off a fight. He wants to be the Susano rotating through, executing targets. This is a scary Dragons team to play against when Sam is able to play his picks. We'll see if Sam gets an impact on this fight. Right now, it's an engagement. Final K wants to be back there. Look at the health bars of Stewart and Baronic. They're melting, and Final K was right on their front door. SOT silence on out. Typhoon finds its way in. Hurrywind will snag this one. PBM's got to get out. Scream won't give him the opportunity. Panda adds another now for the Jade Dragons. He wants to keep going. When your Hunter's playing the furthest forward, you're probably winning the game, and the Jade Dragons a few seconds away of doing so in game 1.
Yeah, Scream looks like he's going to go ahead and get out with his life, but that's not saying too much here. You had to watch everybody else go down in the process. That's just a clean fight, and again, that execute comes in handy.
Oh my goodness. D aside for the Jade Dragons. Panda adds 3,
icing on the cake.
By the end of that.
And once we got to the team fight phase, it was a 5-on-5 diff. I mean, it just felt like I could honestly hear Bobby getting whiplash, trying to whip his head back and forth, figure out who he wanted to ult with these Scarabs Blessings because of all this AoE damage from the Jade Dragons. It just never really came up, right? It was like, oh, everybody's low. Who do I ult? Sometimes he just ulted himself. So in this one, the Jade Dragons do come out ahead, and it was, as you said, non-stop pressure from the early game into the mid game, into the late game, and it just felt like the Solar Scarabs never really had the opportunity to fight back in. In particular, I'd say that Scream has a very quiet performance this time around. A lot of these Thor ults inside of the mid to early game where he goes up into the air, and I'm sitting back there with the team talking about it, and I'm like, all right, where's he going to land? He lands on his own back camps. He lands on his own speed buff. It felt like there really wasn't many times where the Solar Scarabs kind of utilized that Anvil of Dawn to engage a lot of these fights.
Yeah, I think Dave and Gore kind of put it best as far as how this Khepri was concerned for Inbound is he wanted to get ultimates off, but he never had an opportunity. Every time he looked over to try and throw it, he was being pulled in by something, whether it's being stunned by Mike or literally yanked by Sam for Soccer via that wind siphon to pull him back, knocked up by the Typhoon. He didn't get many opportunities, and when he finally did, well, there was always an execute waiting right behind. PBM on this Achilles. It was a little bit questionable, at least for me, kind of questioning how this God was going to perform in this role, how Mike was going to utilize it, and it seems did just fine, able to do its job. Get rid of some of those revives via the execute, and more than anything, just provide a nice early lead here for Panda Cat right in those. And I mean, we had an immediate priority going towards, Uller was kind of that top of the line here for these two teams. I mean, the mid laners just kind of did, whatever they want. Tiamat didn't even get looked at the entirety of the game. It was all about this Raijin, all about the soul. Baronic didn't get to have a whole lot of fun with that soul in mid lane, got pretty bullied by Sam Susano. And in the ban specifically, we saw a ton of frontline pressure. There was 3 Guardians by the Jade Dragons that they banned, or by the Solar Scarabs that were banned away, and there was a Guardian and a Warrior by the Jade Dragons. The first time we see an immediate change up in that. Hun Bots, the first got taken away by the Scarabs, and an RTO response by the Jade Dragons. They don't want to let that bear get through.
Yeah, there's not many times I'm really looking forward to playing against Hunbots, right? Fear No Evil is just a feels bad ability. If my beads are down, I'm probably down right afterward once that cooldown is expended. And I would say playing against Sam for Soccer's Hunbots is probably one of the worst ways to deal with that one. So the Solar Scarabs say exactly that, no thanks. And the Jade Dragons, they're keeping their eyes a little bit more so towards that standard meta. Artio taken off the table, Cripple Field, Stun, slows again, Roots, tons of damage, healing, everything afforded to you by that pick, and not one we want to see here today. Solar Scarabs swiftly rounding back with a Susano and Khepri ban, so we will get to see a different look from inbound this time around as the Jade Dragons finish out their ban phase with Uller and Odin. Again, very standard here. So what's left available for the Scarabs to look towards in that first pick? It's Raijin. Surprised to see that one prioritized over the Tiamat, but maybe I shouldn't be because we did not see it at all in Game 1.
Yeah, it seems that neither of these teams really that concerned with grabbing Tiamat, though, with the Raijin picked up here. Maybe now Hurrywin can go that way, where previously was the Raijin picked up and then it was a Soul in response for the Solar Scarabs. We'll see what that changeup is. I mean, Yamoja's still available, Hell's still available. I could just go down the list of all the new gods we've been seeing, and I'll throw a couple more. We got Geb and Sylvanas are both still able to be picked up and can be played by both these supports. Sylvanas specifically for inbound. This is a god that he has loved to have been playing. He even played it before Sylvanas was considered meta or considered good. He played up against the Bolts back in Phase 2. And then the Geb that's been banned away from Mike so many games after his standout performance in the first game that he got to pop it out. Surprised to see that that's still up.
Yeah, the Jade Dragons essentially have everything at their disposal here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the support pick kind of prioritized. I know that Mike does like going towards those more aggressive picks as well, actually going towards the Achilles in Game 1, obviously. But as you said, it is Geb and Sylvanas still available here, and the Jade Dragons could elect to pick one up or instead shift their attention elsewhere, realizing that the Solar Scarabs likely aren't going to take both, right? I mean, you could take Sylvanas, you could take Geb, but you're probably not taking both of these picks, so the Jade Dragons might shift their attention elsewhere as Tiamat does get locked in, and that one's almost certainly going towards Hurrywin. You've got great artillery damage, you've got good CC to follow up, you've got great split push potential as well, and maybe all that analysis I was doing a moment ago goes to the wind as Geb is locked in here by the Jade Dragons.
You were talking, Geb and Sylvanas, you can't pick them on the same comp. You could if you throw Geb in solo lane. It's been a while since we've seen it, but there is still some potential. It's got the new damage with its ultimate. It does some flat damage, so it's always good to have that, and really good to gank some of those weaker targets. But will be Tiamat Geb for the Jade Dragons. That leaves a lot open still for the Solar Scarabs, namely the Sylvanas we were talking a little bit about earlier. Instead, it'll be Hachiman picked up here. Uller was banned away, and that's kind of been the premier hunter as of the 8.9 patch. So seeing him taken away instantly. They don't want Panda Cat to go on that tirade he did in game number 1, so they'll take it away. And now with Hachiman locked in and a Sylvanas for inbound, getting a little bit of comfort here, allows him to either be that backliner if necessary, or could be one of those big frontline initiators.
Yeah, if Hachiman wants to, could go towards that Transcendence very early on in the build and not have to worry about going towards mana pots in the initial laning phase. And then you're kind of benefiting from both health potions, multi-potions, and the healing of Sylvanas, allowing you to play pretty aggressively and just going for a lot of pressure, especially considering playing against both Geb and Hou Yi. You've essentially drafted 0 lane clear on the side of the Jade Dragons as far as dual lane is concerned. So pressure should largely favor the Solar Scarabs, at least in the early laning phase. Once these supports start to rotate out, that's where this Geb will start to see some of his fruition, I'd say. But as of right now, second banning phase started up, and Jade Dragons, they've got their eyes on a couple of Guardians already. Terra taken off the board.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of Terra flex over towards solo in recent weeks, so no surprise seeing them still throw a little bit of priority that way and make sure to keep Sot off of something comfortable, though he did play just fine on the Hercules last game. Could be something he goes back towards, but it will be a Raven as a ban here by the Jade Dragons. Still don't have their own assassin just yet, but Sam will have the pick of the litter as soon as he comes back up out of this ban phase. It's a Tsukuyomi and a Zhang Kui. Final K did well on the Zhang Kui. I don't know if Zhang Kui is the god I would prioritize a ban towards, but it seems Solar Scarabs are having no more of it.
No, it just wasn't fun to play against, right? I mean, that AoE damage was so hard to deal with within the 5-on-5 engagement. We saw very often, who am I Scarabs blessing? Nobody. Everybody's taking too much damage. So, Zhang Kui seems to have left a lasting impression here on the Solar Scarabs, who decide to ban that out with their very last pick. And as far as assassins go, hey man, you could do worse than Loki. That feels pretty alright, especially in gods like Raijin, who only have that one ability to escape. The CC immunity on Assassinate means that Taiko Drum's probably not going to be the best tool to deal with this god. And then Hachiman, well, if you're stunned out, you might just get one shot immediately afterward, but Hachiman is still one of the safest hunters within the game, so maybe Loki has to work a little bit harder there for dual lane ganks.
Tyr as a lock in here. Now, we really only see this come out with, namely, Ducky from the Valkyries. It's a pick that he does like to go back towards, but seeing a Tyr here as a pick, and then a Bakasura. I'm not gonna hedge my bets on this Bakasura being locked in by the Solar Scarabs. May not surprise me if it does go there, but with all the other assassins out there, Bakasura is not the one that I throw my cards towards, and it does get locked in by the Scarabs. How you liking this Baka as a 9th pick?
Legitimately, I'm not memeing. I think Bakasura is a really good pick here.
Okay.
I mean, taking a peek at what the Jade Dragons have so far, Tiamat, the cripple from Regurgitate, gonna stop a lot of what she's looking to do. Not only can she not stun you, because you've got that burst of CC immunity once you use Bakasura's ultimate, but she also can't switch stances. No leap available, no secondary abilities. Means that that's a pretty decent target for you to chase
Smite.
out.
They roll you over early, and they keep rolling you over as that game goes on. Game number 2 between the Dragons and the Scarabs kicking off right now, and Gore, we still got a little spice here on this one. SOT on the tier. And I like this pick for him. I like his ability to control these fights. We saw a little bit of it with the Hercules in Game 1. And I think expectations for me pretty high here for SOT on this tier going into Game 2.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it. I just love Tyr in general, and he's starting off pretty good. If he had Fearless up, or I guess he had his Cleave, now he should have the Fearless. This could be a kill.
Could be. Final K jumps up and over, but it's a blink forward from SOT. One last auto. He's throwing his hands up, wondering what Final K's doing in his lane. And it's an early solo kill for SOT. Won't be another. Yes,
wow.
It is. Solar Scarabs off to a 2-0 start.
I mean,
before
what
a minute in the game.
A great turnaround for them. That is so good as a start. You have a little bit more damage going your way if you're Scream than you want, but hey, guess what? You can always make that back by eating a minion, so you're not too worried about it. I think this is a great start. In fact, Solar Troll might be looking for a little bit more. Okay, no, he's going to back off. He's level 3.
Potential there for the supports to help set up. But between Sanford Soccer and Scream Gore, maybe the jungle rotations is where stuff happens.
Oh my
unless
God.
Panda Cat's going to get pulled and stunned.
Wow.
He'll dash away and or leap away, I guess. Feel all right after that, but not happy with the amount of damage he just caught.
That's why Geb is going to be necessary here. Just having that CC immunity that can come through from the shield that really will help you out more often than not on this Hachiman. Make me want some anti-auto attack, anything, items, relics, all of it. But realistically, I think Zot's just going to be able to get aggressive.
Fine, okay, low. He's got the ultimate if he wants to go for it. SOT does not. But Gore, dare I say, Final K is being manhandled a little bit over here in the solo lane. The Nike has to head on back to base. Scream stunned by the red buff, and the chain CC is hefty, and the damage from Panda Cat helps sets up the first kill of the game for the Jade Dragons. Sanford Soccer, the first to strike pay dirt for the Chaos side.
And that's a good kill to be able to pick up. Admittedly, I would argue one that you
Assassinates here for Sanford Soccer. He'll walk on in, waiting for those beads, but the ultimate's there on the other side as well. So Stewart will gallop away. But great pressure to transition that for Sam.
That is
by
what
just
Sam
the number
is
of people who own it?
Yeah, because you could only get it, I believe, from codes at that HRX, and those were very limited.
Do you have it?
I do, because my brother was currently, like, when he worked here, the one giving out those codes.
Now, Gore, that is a very fun fact. I appreciate that. Those are the stats. You can't imagine we track, but you bet we do. It's Gore inside and helping us. Yeah, somebody tracks him. Inbound, deep in the Jade Dragon side of the jungle here. It's a jump in from Fine OK. PBM fearless on away, and the CC suddenly being turned on the Jade Dragon support. Inbound will not get the ultimate off. Fine OK. Able to pick up the first here, and Polar Bear Mike actually walking away. Assassinate comes back up. Sanford Soccer re-engaged. Big up down from Fine OK. The chain CC piling on, but Scream is going to jump away from this one. Can SOT make a big play happen? Aegis out from Sanford Soccer. But if you've gone too far forward, SOT, can the tier get out of this one? Fine OK won't hit the up down, and a little heal comes in from SOT, pushes PBM beneath the tower. My God, he's a madman. SOT turns around a 3v1.
And ultimately, it's support for support at the end of the day. A very, very good set of plays from SOT, and that healing coming in handy twice now to keep him alive. Scream's able to get out of there. I was really going to say I loved what Mike was able to do with the turnaround to specifically stay engaged in there. A couple of good shields. A good knockup could have been even more essential to them if he hits the tier. Might have been able to find the kill. But ultimately, Sot has been playing out of his mind.
This is ruthless. It's absolutely ruthless. My man has no mana and half HP, and we're still trying to invade blue buffs. Will SOT pay for his crimes? Sanford Soccer might. Lawbringer doesn't hit. On to Sam, who will walk away. And let's inbound. Able to make something happen. Gets the pull onto Sanford Soccer. Knock up thanks to the Geb shield won't do much. PBM helps his jungler away. SOT will walk away as well. Bloodbath over here on right.
And, well, actually, oh, good. We'll get to see it. So right here, incredibly low for SOT. Geb is cooling up. Shockwave comes out.
Missing. That
just
up, down,
a second. That
big.
up down missing, but as well as the fact that he got some healing, he had just gotten away. And, of course, you know, shout out to Tier 1 Tower, giving him a little bit of extra damage. He's been relatively safe, didn't have to use his beads the last time Loki went over there for a gank. Did have to drop his ult, but you're not really that worried about that if you're a Hachiman.
It's back.
So I think, yeah, it's a really good spot to be in for Stewart, and I want him to see him continue.
Oh, PBM answers one ult with his own. Tycho Drums also spent here. There's got to be a dead Geb. And dead Geb it is after Baronic deals the killing blow. Jump in, though, from Hurrywin. Gets a knockup. On to Scream, Panda Cat lurking around the corner as well. SOT mirroring Fine OK, as you'd expect. Anywhere Fine OK goes, SOT will be there.
Prod items, things to help him live, or if he's going to be focused entirely on the damage.
Gore, SOT is here, and I think that means the Solar Scarabs are feeling all right about a Gold Fury fight. This is a big pivot point in this game for the Jade Dragons. You're pretty far behind for 12 minutes in. How much are you willing to spend? And pretty far behind to put that in context. Just shy of 3,000 gold, 2.5k or so. Polar Bear Mike gets pulled in, drops Horrific Emblem, but Fine OK goes in, drops the Sentinel of Zeus, and that health shield is gone, and it is gone quickly. Stewart uses his ult, Fine OK uses his. On the other side, Blink is down though, Horrific Emblem is down. Few actives, few ultimates spent for both sides.
And realistically, you're in a good spot because, like you said, a few ultimates used. Cataclysm still exists, and Mike is here.
This is quick. Polar Bear Mike walks in and does not walk out with it. It's a massive Cataclysm that Fine OK jumps in to follow up with, and the disengage is quick from the Solar Scarabs. Panda Cat with his ultimate has gotten those health bars low. Scream, blinks forward, gets the kill on a Fine OK. Hurrywin in the back line has turned around one. But chopping away is Scream, and it's a double kill for the Baka.
And remember, this is still not exactly the phase of the game that I'm scared of him, and he gets a double kill. Good turnaround from Scream to be able to pick up those kills. It's a good team fight for the Scarabs, and this is a good grouping for them. Pyromancer is probably the immediate thing on their mind, but if they can win a fight around it, they're absolutely going to turn this into a fire.
Scarabs are playing so quickly that there's not going to be a fight. The Jade Dragons don't even step up to the Pyromancer. Are you going to step up to the Fire Giant, though? This objective much bigger, much scarier, 16.5 minutes in. This is what the Dragons do to other teams. You don't do this to the Jade Dragons. Are you able to do so, though? Polar Bear Mike gets knocked up. Big damage onto Scream, and Scream goes down first at the hands of Fine OK. Watch out, backline. The Nike is here. SOT still running things on the other backline, though. Big damage from Baronic over the wall. Keeps this fight somewhat interesting. Panda Cat wasn't even here this entire time. The Jade Dragons choose their time to strike, and Panda Cat puts one down, and it's Baronic who's MIA, Sanford Soccer, the only casualty for the Dragons.
All right, look, Solar Troll, you've been working some magic this game, but yeah, this one might even be too much for you. With Panda Cat, half mana, full health, and if he gets that stun, I think that's a kill.
Agreed.
Luckily, it ends up slowing things down. They should be able to disengage. That's a huge I mean, understatement. That is a massive turnaround for the Dragons. This game is in control of the Scarabs, and the fact that they get to the back line so quickly, they get rid of Scream before anything can happen that fight. A couple of beats, an Aegis, you feel really good after that if you're the Dragons. Still down by a lot in gold, but that is promising.
Inbound, is he going to get collapsed on here? Not ideal synergy there between PBM and Panda Cat, but it looks like Inbound will die nonetheless. Great Taiko drums though from Baronic. Taunting a couple members of the Jade Dragons, but here's the chase, here's the follow-up, and here's the death at the hands of Hurrywind for Stewart. Panda Cat up in the air, and he's going to jump back in aggressively. SOT still has his ultimate if need be. Final K drops a slow onto Scream, and the disarm will go miles in keeping this Bakasura in check. Lawbringer used from SOT here to go up and over out of this fight, dashes out of the knockup, and the Jade Dragons go find another couple picks. And suddenly this Tiamat has come alive 18 minutes in. We have talked plenty about the scaling of the Bakasura. Cannot ignore the mid laner for the Dragons.
Yeah, and this is the biggest thing. Look, Nike's going to be starting to show a lot of prowess. We've seen the slows in these last couple of fights, so that's something to be worried about. But Tiamat, and I would argue this is where Geb really gets to shine. This problems have been for the Scarabs, right? Their early games have been looking really good. First off, I see the Oppa ward. That's down there. I love that. But also,
favorite ward in the game. Correct.
I have to say that this is where they've been struggling in a lot of their games. It's when they have this early lead and get to the late game fights.
Scream and Sam 1v1 on left. Scream is going to win that one. Sam for Soccer will ult away. Inbound caught in between every one of the Jade Dragons here. Inbound falls to 0-3 on the Sylvanas. And Hurrywind helps out on that one. SOT around the back of the Jade Dragons here. Sam for Soccer had to use his Aegis. And so we still see Gore where the power for the Scarabs lies, and that 1v1 between Scream and Sam for Soccer not giving you a lot of confidence if you're this Loki. Scream handily won that, got the Aegis out of Sam. Talk about momentum, kind of that intangible direction that this game is headed, and the Jade Dragons have had all the momentum over the last 5 or so minutes.
It's a lot of pressure, I think, to be under if you're the Scarabs here, because you know you can burn objectives, and they're going to try to, but this is a dangerous game.
This is where the game turned around a few moments ago as an FG call by the Solar Scarab. Polar Bear Mike walks into the back line.
Good beads.
Damage, but beads from Baronic will keep him in the fight. All the shielding from Mike will keep him up in this fight a little bit longer, but the back line of the Solar Scarabs takes this Sentinel of Zeus, and Hurrywind is here to play. Scream on the back line, loses a 2v1 to Panda Cat and Sam for Soccer, and Final Case holding down the fort here on right. Exactly what you need to see. You lose PBM. Happy to do it if Scream is the casualty on the other side.
Yeah, it's a really good choice for them. But SOT's going to go back in.
SOT goes back in, getting a lot of damage onto Panda Cat. SOT does not have his ultimate, but does he have the guts to chase this out? Low HP on both of the carries. This is the type of play that SOT wants to make. He will walk beneath the Tier 1 tower and will walk right on out, you assume. Hurrywind cancel his back. No, he won't. Will Panda Cat cancel his back? No, he won't. And SOT won't go for the big play this time.
Inbound has been two steps too far forward, and it's cost them the game.
Hurrywind will step forward here. And Inbound will as well, and takes a nice chunk of damage from Hurrywind. Fire Giant low, beneath half HP. The rest of the Dragons, are you going to stick on it? The answer is yes. We have not reset it yet, but SOT going into the FG pit, but just a little too late, and all of the CC makes its way onto the tier, but it's not enough. Scream has the opening kill here, and the rest of the Scarabs will kite backwards, but Scream, full HP in the backline. PBM providing some CC, but the knockup not there. Stewart walks in. Jade Dragons lose 1. Jade Dragons lose 2. 2 of them at the hands of Scream. The third earlier on in the fight, and the Dragons get the Fire Giant, but it only sticks on 2.
Yeah, and honestly, not the best members to have it. Sam, who might still fall down here with some damage. Baronic gets the hit, and that's a good 4 for swing. And 2 towers left, just Mike, but this health bar, you're going to be cutting it close. I think
you have a minion wave. Phoenix maybe.
Definitely Phoenix.
But Sam's got 40, Panda Cat's got 30.
I think you can do it. I think with Hurrywind, I don't think Hurry's enough.
Right now it's just Mike. You need 10 seconds till Hurrywind comes back. There's the first bit of CC connecting. Solar Scarabs walking into the Titan room. We're going to get a good look at how much damage this team can do. 5 seconds on Hurrywind, no more PBM, and the Solar Scarabs have controlled game 2, and they will indeed send us to a game 3.
A lot of that is Scream, man. That Bakasura gets into the back line, does so much.
Soccer barely lived past that point. The Solar Scarabs were in control very early on. SOT, a standout player inside of this one, was able to turn around, what was it, a 1 versus 3 in his lane at one point, trying to find Mike inside the tower. I believe it was this play. Uses the heal, immediately switches stances, and puts the kibosh to the Jade Dragons all on his own. But I would be doing a disservice to Twitch chat if I don't say this, and I will preface it by saying that Inbound caught me on the way into this room and told me to say exactly this. Bobby started Sylvanas in the Smite Pro League by running scrims with it, and every time he plays Sylvanas, it is just a highlight reel. I said it, Bobby. You gotta leave me alone now.
Yeah, you got your one in there, Bobby. But to be fair to Bobby, he was also one of the only people who played it before this patch, back in phase number 2. I mean, this is a god that got a win for them against the Bolts in phase number 2. Took the Bolts to game 3. Now they're taking the Dragons here to game number 3. Should be a surefire sparks flying match. But Scream on this Bakasura, you put a lot of emphasis on what this Bakasura can do, and it lived up to its name here in game number 2. Some big highlight reel moments for Scream himself on this god.
Yeah, going 6, 3, and 4 on an incredibly unorthodox pick. Name another, or name something that represents Scream more so as a player. I don't think you could, just playing these off-brand weirdo picks and then doing incredibly well on it. Able to establish 15,000 damage, just about the second highest on his team here, third highest within the lobby. Finoke actually gets props for the most damage, but unfortunately for him, Finoke did not win.
Where everything falls into place for this third one. The Solar Scarabs looking hot in game number 2. The Jade Dragons will take that first pick spot away from them here, electing to take it themselves.
So we'll see how the bans roll out now. I doubt we see too many targeted bans. It wouldn't be a trip if we saw something like a Bakasura ban here from the Jade Dragons. I doubt that's going to come to fruition. More likely, we see some standard bans rolling through. Circuit, maybe fringe standard inside of that first phase. Not something we see all the time, but not something we're overly surprised to see the Jade Dragons take away inside of that first slot. And the Solar Scarabs now in a position to look towards their own. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of what we saw in Game 2. From both of these teams as far as drafts are concerned. The Solar Scarabs going for a bit more early game aggression, good lane pressure. The Jade Dragons probably going to try and bring a little bit more what they had inside of Game 1 as far as team fight presence. It seems like both of these squads have made adaptations between Games 1 and 2. So maybe we see wide sweeping changes here in Game 3, man. Always a treat to watch.
I'm honestly surprised the Dragons didn't try and go for a very early Raijin last time around. This is one of their most highly picked top 3 gods, is this Raijin. So the fact that they've kind of just let it go to the wayside a little bit, especially in Game 2, giving that one over to Baronic, who's shown that he wants the Raijin more than he wants the Tiamat. I mean, we saw the Tiamat go all the way to the latter half of the draft before it gets locked in. But as far as the first bans go, it's a triple assassin, one with the Circuit, who does have that flexibility more often towards the support role nowadays, and then the Hunbot Susanoo. So still putting a lot of focus against Sam for Soccer. And the Jade Dragons, they are having no more of this Raijin. They're going to ban it away for their third slot right behind that RDO.
If the Scarabs don't use their third ban for Tiamat, I think it's pretty likely that the Jade Dragons go for that pick in their first slot. But something else that has been getting a lot of first pick priority between all of these games has been that Khepri, which is still available as it stands right now. But the new guard of Guardians, the Khepri, the Sylvanas, and the Geb, all still remain available here. So the Solar Scarabs have a tough decision ahead of them as they have used their first 2 bans just to go towards Sam for Soccer's God Pool, Hunbots, and Susanoo removed from the table here. And it will be Zhong Kui to round out the ban phase here for the Solar Scarabs. That's interesting, man. That's a very interesting play. So now, if the Jade Dragons do take Tiamat or any other carry for themselves, they can't rely on that AoE damage of Zhong Kui to make it a little bit harder for a Scarab's Blessing to find its target. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Solar Scarabs take the Khepri here.
Look at that sweet armband that Mike is rocking. You can
Where
pick
can
one
I buy
of the shop.smiteproleague.com.
No shot. What?
Yeah, you can go right there. It comes there with Inside Apparel providing that to you. Unfortunately, it will not make you any stronger like this, though it could make you if you wear that to the gym or out anywhere else. So make sure to pick one of those up if you want to have a nice armband like Mike. Mike's really making it work here. Uller as a first pick for the Jade Dragons. It's a big one for him. It worked out so well in game number 1, enough to where it had to get banned in game number 2. So the Jade Dragons get something big for Panda Cat right out the gate.
They do. Panda Cat has been having a great performance here so far inside of this set, and Ull's a god to keep that momentum rolling going forward. Now, the Solar Scarabs in the second pick position can find themselves going towards some priority picks. And how did I forget about this one? Odin finally works his way through a ban phase and gets locked in, snatched up immediately by the Scarabs this time around. Has flex potential, could go support, could go jungle, more than likely headed for that solo lane, and Tiamat going to be locked in. And we had, who was it earlier this week, Paul in the interview say that there are top 2 mages inside of the game. It's pretty clear and definitive. Raijin and Tiamat. Raijin banned, Tiamat not banned, and Tiamat picking up.
Yeah, just to make sure to get something big here in the mid lane, sure to get one of those, as Paul claimed, top 2 mages. Though maybe with that 8.10 and even with the bonus pallets, maybe we'll see a little bit of a shift in those mid lanes, but we're not there right now. We're here in the now, and the 8.9, and Tiamat Raijin still reigning supreme amongst the mid laners, and making sure to grab a top pick for the mid lane of the Solar Scarabs. They'll grab that and the Odin. And it's kind of easy to sometimes forget about Odin because of how often he gets banned away in the first phase by these teams. The fact he was able to slip through, a lot of that is thanks to what's so great about game number 3s in Smite is that it comes down, game number 1, it's a lot of meta. Game 2, some meta, a little bit of target. Game 3, you see a lot of more targeted focused bans taking individual players out. So you get to see gods like this Odin slip through, even gods like this Geb make it through again with the Kabrakan, and then Bobby gets to go back on that Sylvanas one more time. Maybe we'll get to see another highlight reel out of the support.
The progenitor of the Sylvanas inside of the SPL back at it again in a game 3 situation. Up against the Jade Dragons. Solar Scarabs now have themselves a pretty scary draft here, man. Odin shifts up how you have to pay attention to these picks and ban phases, or these team fights rather, and up against things like the Kabrakan and the Geb, you got some pretty easy to lock down targets. Maybe we see the Jade Dragons try and pick up a Phantom within the early game if they so choose, and with Kabrakan locked in, I think that is more than likely headed for Fine OK inside of the Soul Lane. We have seen in the past guys like Cherio like to take this Kabrakan into the jungle, but it's not one that I expect Sanford Soccer to keep their eyes towards. And speaking of those targeted bans you were just talking about, Jade Dragons take Bakasura away. They don't want to play against it again.
No, they don't want to go against that. The Scarabs do not want to fight against some of Sam's big picks between the Hunbots and Susano in the first phase, and now a Pele Raven in the second phase of ban. Scarabs pretty much have gone with almost an exclusive jungle ban category
they don't
here.
Like Sam.
I don't think anybody wants to go.
Sam?
No, people like Sam. People don't like going against Sam.
Okay, fair.
Is the point I was trying to get there, and the Solar Scarabs are making that very well known here. They could have probably easily slotted that Zhang Kui for another assassin just to try and further put him back. And then a Cupid as a ban here by the Jade Dragons. A very interesting one to kind of throw out of the mix, but maybe serves a little bit of that similar purpose to the Bakasura with that Fields of Love.
Yeah, Cupid is a pick that, Stuart's gone towards a couple of times in the past, has great kill pressure, and with the Sylvanas could make some waves inside of the early game, but instead it is going to be the Ho Yi locked in. I'm glad that I talked to myself in circles for a second there. I was going to predict something like the Heimdall or maybe even the Hachiman or something along those lines, but instead it is a high kill pressure selection here for Stuart out of the duo lane. But a god that has already been locked in a couple of times at the SPL level, a Wheelish picked up by the Jade Dragons, and Wheelish has got some pretty good matchups here. It's been the tried and true counter matchup into Odin, and, well, that's going to be pretty easy to lock him down. Bird Bomb going to consume 2 of his abilities with Gravity Rush, or even Ho Yi once he uses his own leap. It's one of the slowest ones in the game. Pretty easy to line up a Wheelish's ult.
Man, remember when the Ho Yi leap used to be you kind of sit there and you hover around in the air and you just kind of snake your way through the air before you crash down? Man, those were the best days for the Wheelish. You can still do some similar practices against him. That leap is very slow out of the Ho Yi. And the fact that a Wheelish herself not only got some buffs, but then all the items around a Wheelish got buffed in this patch. I'm surprised it took Sam so long to finally bust this god out. He's one of the only players who was throwing this god out here before the buffs. Now we're getting some post buffs, and then a Nemesis as a final lock-in here for the Solar Scarabs.
Opportunity to do so here. Some fun picks in the jungle, and that's where I want to start. You got Sanford Soccer on a Wheelish on one side, Scream on the Nemesis over on the other. Big potential for blow-up level damage.
The Nemesis is the one that catches my eye. Look, again, we talked about it last game specifically because of Heroine, but like the Tiamat, it's going to take a little bit longer to get online than what we're expecting out of the Soul, so you do want this Nemesis being able to strip protections, make you do a little bit more damage, maybe engage things. As Frenzy,
what?
Of all things, was popped over
sprint.
here.
And
the sprint, yeah, Mike is actually having to run the long way around just to get out of here. But it's the Wheelish that catches my eye because there's actually not just the blatant synergy. You've got Geb knock up that makes easy work for your ult.
Myth expect score, I think level 5, level 6 for Sanford Soccer. The level 6 power spike Mifflin was referencing on the desk there. Just a couple levels away, and we might see the jungle get a little bit more active. Might see the mid lane get more active here. Hurrywin jumped on, but disapparate. Well timed.
What a pull!
Inbound, great pull, but there's no follow-up damage from the rest of the team. Is going to make Hurrywin uncomfortable enough to use the beads. And PBM used the sprint, so we're going to steal away a couple of the smaller creeps around this red. And inbound starting to hit those pulls early. Maybe a good repeat performance here from the Scarab support.
Yeah, your ideal world. Jeez, Stuart, you got to be careful over here, man. This is not a good look. But ultimately, he's going to be fine. Panda Cat eats a lot of mana. I say that, but there's Sam.
Sam is here as well. Purple buff not up and ready to be invaded. Just some pressure from Sam for Soccer.
Means that first blood bounty really
God.
does
We are
feel
dead
like
even.
it's going to be good.
We could not be more even if we tried. 43 gold and 150 XP. And that difference on Final K right now, but it might swing back to the Solar Scarabs.
What a good stun.
Cage is out. Final K finds a nice stun, finds a nice wall, but it's not nice enough. And SOT on the board first, but PBM rotates in late here. And Sam for Soccer get a pull off of the knockup as PBM spent too much time in lane. Cataclysm on the other side, knock up there. SOT pulled back through. The beads are on the other side though, and SOT jumps on a PBM. It's a double kill for the Odin. And luckily Sam is able to get one.
Yeah, I mean, you get one. You're the jungler. You're happy. But I think you're really sad in the long run. You lose PBM in a place where maybe he shouldn't have a 2v3 that feels like it was ill-advised, providing a little bit more pressure. Although the ward game from the Scarabs on right is insane. They have it on lock versus the Dragons with a lot of vision.
Yeah, we know where
over
this
there
is.
on left.
Right, we know where PBM is. He's going to roll right into SOT, who's going to back right on away. So while you don't get the kill, you are able to strip away some of those back camps, and that feels all right. The re-engage, though, is it here? Is it now? Do the Solar Scarabs want to fight? PBM could and does take a stun and an ultimate, and a cage is around him, and damage from Veronic. Cataclysm not nearly enough. There is a pull right back through onto Inbound, but Inbound happy to be there. He'll turn around this fight, pull no good onto Final K, and it's a right side kill and another one for SOT. The dash in, the dash out from Scream keeps this fight rolling. Final K low on health, lower on mana. Hurrywin, can you make something happen? You've got your ultimate. You don't have a lot of mana. Is SOT gonna continue his onslaught? My goodness, this guy cannot be stopped. And a nice trade back kill for Final K.
That's actually a great kill to be able to pick up if you're killing off Scream.
Man, he's got no mana.
They're going to get aggressive. Good pull.
Oh, great pull from Inbound. Sam for Soccer's got to jump away. Will SOT hit the stun that this Scarabs team needs? Kind of playing tentatively here. A little ticky-tack back and forth, waiting for the right target to pop up. PBM back into the fight. Sam for Soccer's low here. Is SOT going to get enough damage on the end to go tower diving? No, he won't. It looks like the onslaught of this Odin has been stopped finally. 3-1-0 is SOT, all three of the kills for the Scarabs.
And it's a good place to put him. This Odin has been essential. And what a good route.
You gotta hit the pull. Oh, doesn't need it anyway. Baronic under the tower, and Hurrywin goes down. The Scarabs starting to run away with game 3.
Finally picking up some kills. Admittedly, it sucked originally that Scream died, and it felt like, what was it, a 1-for-1? But now you're starting to pick up a couple more kills in mid. But now we're starting to get to see why this Sylvanas is so highly coveted and how well the Scarabs are able to play it.
Oh my, great stun and jump in from Stewart. Ultimate's going to go out as well. Panda Cat uses the beads, has no mana. And so minions will walk forward, but Scream not going to roll the dice on a tower dive, not just yet.
It's been a very weird matchup, like to the point where when group stages were being decided, I think it was in phase 1, people were like, put the Scarabs with the Dragons, lock them together, like that's going to be a lot of trouble. And admittedly, it ended up being trouble, I think, for the Kings more than it ended up being for the Dragons.
It is Gold Fury started out by the Jade Dragons, the Solar Scarabs. No, it is the Jade Dragons. I got it right the first time. They're behind, so I was surprised that they were doing it. But doing it, they do. And Gore, it was a 1,000 gold lead wiped out in one moment. Right back to even in the gold department, 600 in the experience department. And that is a quick and obviously, to me, a surprising call from the Jade Dragons to even up the gold. And
it's not only evening up the gold, but admittedly, save for Hurrywin, who's probably just a little bit behind in terms of experience, ultimately equal. Again, like we're right back to where we were a few minutes ago, just with a couple more kills on the board and more items in the pockets for these players. You have a really good Divine Ruin and Dominance picked up by Scream. He's the one that I'm keeping my eye on the most because this Nemesis needs to be essential. I mean, that Bakasura made so many big plays.
This is brutal. Panda Cat's just got to watch this happen. Inbound walks under the tower, gets stunned by Panda Cat, and the last shot will be there. Panda Cat makes Inbound pay for overextending. Save for Soccer's here on the backside of this fight as well. Gore, that was telegraphed and then some. I mean, every member of the Jade Dragons knew that was about to happen, and it happened anyway. Inbound, maybe there's no other route to go. The Jade Dragons are going to be rotating in from behind you. Oh,
no.
But Scream gets one shot by FineOK as well. Technically 2 with the punch and the follow-up. But those are the types of trip-ups you can't make up against the Jade Dragons.
And admittedly, those are the types of trip-ups I was referencing in Game 2. Luckily, we didn't have to see any then. But you have a decent lead that gets taken away by Gold Fury, and then you have 2 kills immediately that come out for the Dragons.
Some awkward pathing required from inbound there. 2 kills going back to the Jade Dragons. It has not flung this game in one direction or the other. Important for FineOK to get a couple of the kills here in this game after SOT has started off with a killing spree, keep the solo lane even. So Pyromancer looked at by the Jade Dragons, inbound close by here as well. Baronic from over the wall can send some damage towards the Pyro. Might be able to steal this one away. First bit of damage connects onto the front line. Pull back in on the inbound. Goodbye, Sylvanas. And goodbye, Pyromancer. The Jade Dragons got both. That's a big jump in from SOT.
What a good
big
cage.
Damage, massive cage. But you got to follow up. You need some damage here if you're the Solar Scarabs. You've got a little bit. Baronic jumps right back through. FineOK on a killing spree. But returning the favor immediately are the Solar Scarabs. 2-for-2 trade around the Pyro. Hurry uses his Aegis. SOT gonna run him down.
And he's got a shield, though. He's going to stay alive. A good knockup. This could actually be a turnaround.
Ewan stays alive. Will he survive yet again? No, he won't. SOT puts him down. These teams are scrapping. And SOT a chance to get a kill on a PBM at the end.
Yeah, Mike has no mana to work with. Sot has a lot. But he's going to let it fall right there. I figured he was going to go continually, maybe even tower down.
Level up over inbound, and so that's a big turnaround. PBM, if you would have told me 5 minutes ago Mike was going to beat inbound to his second relic, I wouldn't have believed you, but we're here and we're in that world now. A big turnaround from the Geb after what was a rough start, and that's an important trend as well. Stewart, we're going diving. PandaCat does it again. We have seen these 2v1 turnarounds already, and add another to the highlight reel for PandaCat. And this Uber, the Aegis
what a
is out.
shield!
The shield.
Oh, what a turnaround!
As well. You gotta be kidding me! PandaCat nearly does it to him, but Mike will put the second one down anyway. PandaCat with a big play will fall, but makes it as good as possible for the Dragons.
I mean, that was borderline top play material for potentially the year if that goes their way. Really, really good mental from Mike to be able to pick up that kill, but PandaCat loses out on both relics, opens up an opportunity for Scream in the future, as well as in these next couple of fights. You've got a Primal Fury respawning that opens up a point of contention on the map.
But now the Jade Dragons playing with what they and their fans might consider to be a commanding lead. But if nothing else, the momentum here in this matchup. Scream at 1-4 has had a tough go of things here on this Nemesis. Sanford Soccer gets the pull onto Stewart, and there is way too much damage there for this Hoyi to have anything to say about it. A chance, though, for the Solar Scarabs on right in a 3 versus 2, but they took a lot of damage there, Gore, as well.
One good Cataclysm setup.
I'm trying to wonder, sorry, it jumped out of me how Sam
Oh, wait, yeah, wait, how is he at the bottom? Wait, hold on,
he's
what?
the lowest player damage in the game, but
All of that damage is into players to get kills. That's it.
They're all squishy, and there's not a lot of damage to be done. This is a big moment in this game, Gore. 19 minutes in, a clean Fire Giant for the Jade Dragons. Whether that was a call for the Scarabs just not to compete for it, or they didn't realize it was happening, the result is still the same. So you'll have some damage online if you're Stewart. But with a Heartseeker for PandaCat, I don't think I'm overextending by saying to match the pressure and the damage that PandaCat's going to have in these fights, Stewart's going to be hard-pressed to do so.
Yeah, and he's just been a victim of circumstance at this point. Not a lot he can do, but FineOK gets pulled back in.
Into the ultimate. Actually, 2 ultimates going to FineOK, and then a stun on the back end. He is knocked up to all hell, but he has not been killed off. Great cage from SOT. It's the jump on out from a couple members of the Jade Dragons. Hurrywind drops the hammer on the back line, and it's inbound who falls. PandaCat adds another, and it's Stewart who falls second. It's a roll on through from PBM. Scream running away as best as he can. Mike doesn't have the damage. There's still a tower in mid here, fellas. We got to go back for that.
And they're low, but they have a minion wave and Fire Giant helping them out a little bit here to make sure they stay up and alive. No Aussie, so just in-hand healing from PandaCat if he goes in the X form. And he's not getting a lot of it right now.
PandaCat is just vibing in the back. FineOK blinks forward, looks for the stun, gets the stun. On the SOT, the health bar's low, though. PandaCat has to use the Aegis. It's a leap on out, and Panda survives. Polar Bear Mike walks out as well. It's huge turnaround from Fine OK, and the Jade Dragons have got the damage. Hurrywin's got the double kill. The Jade Dragons running away with game 3. Unreal from the Dragons.
I mean, you get the Phoenix. You are in control. If you had just slightly more health on your side right now, this would be an in game. You would absolutely be able to control that.
The Scarabs do it to us again.
These are pretty easily handled.
I would argue.
And they've got pressure on left.
That's right. And so of all the Phoenixes that could be gone, and yeah, there's no world where you're competing for this Fire Giant if you're the Solar Scarabs. Of all the Phoenixes that could be down, mid lane feels okay, especially on base defense in moments like this. You know, you can easily bounce back and forth between mid and right or left. Jade Dragons could split up, send one fully on over to left, keep all 5 over here on right. Polar Bear Mike's just going to roll right on in. Phoenix defense time to save the game, save the set for the Solar Scarabs.
I mean, this is where things become a huge herald for them. We'll have to watch. I'm keeping my eyes on SOT and on inbound because they're going to make the plays.
Get Fine OK on left. He's got Blink and Thorns. At the drop of a hat, this Cabrakan will find his way into the back line. Out of SOT, resets that Blink. Bird Bomb is now down. Polar Bear Mike walking forward. One knockup is all San for Soccer needs to start off this base siege. Will it be here? There's a stun on the inbound, and my God, the tree is missing before my eyes. San for Soccer, Final K, 1-2 punch in the back line. Hurrywin's diving Baronic in the hopes of the Solar Scarabs starting to fade away here in Game 3. SOT and Scream, the last 2 alive. The 5-2 and 1 Odin, the 1-5 Nemesis will not stand a chance. They pushed us to another Game 3. But on another occasion, the top team will come out on top. The Jade Dragons take it in 3.
Hey, now look, they're just playing with their food that is left. Yeah, that's the full-on deicide, and that is exactly what they need. You know what? I'm torn between the true analysis. I will say the tree fell really fast. Uller has 2 axes. Okay, got it out of my system. That is just good engage overall from the Dragons. I think the way that they're able to get as aggressive as they do under that Phoenix, and that showcases the strengths of a Soul plus an Uller. Every second or two, Mike is stepping in, taking a couple shots, stepping back, but each time he steps in, he's got someone, either Panda or Hurrywin, stepping in with him, throwing some autos, chipping that thing down.
All that 14,000-ish gold at the end of that game separating these 2 teams, but it really was a back-and-forth fight between this match. I mean, there was a ton of 2v1 turnarounds, 3v1s, all sorts of high-octane plays. But at the end of the day, the Jade Dragons just felt like they were a little bit more in control, especially around these rotations into the team fights. It felt like more often than not, they had the numbers advantage, and especially around their ADC, man. This was some Panda Cat diff.
Yeah, this is just a game, and I think Dave was right to bring it up at the end. It might be getting to dangerous territories to let Panda Cat on this Uller, even PBM. A little late on that rotation still. The fact that Panda's able to 2v1 the opposition on this god. Even Final K on the opposite side of the map. A little bit of early struggle, but late game, just a whole lot of damage coming from this Cabrakan. 10k in his pocket just here in game number 3. I think side lane, I'm not going to say side lane diff, but side lanes did a lot here in game number 3 for the Dragons.
They did, man. This Cabrakan was so annoying to deal with. It just felt like if he saw somebody, he was running at him, stun, Shremmer, walls, just so good at the game is Final K. I wish one day I'd be able to play as well as he does. And that's the statement. Period. Put a period on that.
I'd like to play as half as good as probably any of these guys out here, but Final K on this Cabrakan doing some good work. 10,000 damage. Panda Cat nearly 18,000 on this Uller. Yeah, no,
nothing on Final K.
I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna go even further than what Dave was saying. Might be treading that dangerous territory. I'm just gonna say this: do not give Panda Cat Uller. There's no maybe we shouldn't. There's no maybe if we gotta go back and forth. No. Stop giving this guy Uller because he showed us in game number 3 just how dangerous this guy. I mean, we had a double in-studio header. Surely we still have some more Smite. In fact, we do. Solar Scarabs have another chance tomorrow up against the Valhalla Valkyries to try and find a win. Same for the Valkyries, looking to find their first win of the season. And then we'll close out the weekend with the Camelot Kings and the Oni Warriors. With that game all said and done, the standings change up just a little bit here. Lattice Leviathans with their win earlier today. They still remain at the top, undefeated 4-0. Jade Dragons 3-1, tied with the Tartarus Titans, but just slightly ahead of them because of all that plus-minus. The Olympus Bolts and the Kings will share their spot down for the 5th seed. The Kings with the match tomorrow, though, they can try and bump themselves up. And then the Warriors, Scarabs, and Valhallas round up the bottom end of the standings.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Anytime I get to see the Solar Scarabs and the Valhalla Valkyries play against each other, it always is a treat. I mean, sure, battle of the bottom, to be fair, but it is really exciting matches.